ever answer Nick
Nick?
over at SVS?
Oh, I didn't reply directly to him. I thought he was just sending us a promo thing.
No, he wants reviews, right?
Oh, that way. Well, I never could. Anyway, hi, welcome to Behind the Scenes, folks. We're chatting away here as the video has already begun. Yeah, it's Behind the Scenes of AV Rant. This will be episode 612. Yeah, getting up there. So this is the behind the scenes video, giving you the heads up that it is not complete. This green screen beside me will remain green in this video, and audio might drop out or might not be able to see images we're talking about because yeah, you're just getting the live feeds of our cameras that we're recording locally, and we stitch them together afterwards. And if that's what you'd like to see, the completed thing with our videos side by side and audio cleaned up, stuff like that, then look for the completed 2-hour video version, which posts under the name AV Rant Home Theater Q&A Podcast, and should go up on Wednesday. I had show notes and that to it on Thursday, usually. Put in timestamps so you can skip around from question to question. That's what goes on in that lovely, fancy, completed video. Yeah, that's about it. Switch over to Tom. He still looks busy, so I don't know what he's doing. Oh, answering Nick, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder if that would be like review samples to keep, because I could actually use those for my parents.
Yeah, they're not going to ask for them back. It's only, dude, it's only like, if they're selling for $300.
Well, no, they're $600.
$600, like that's for them back.
Most likely not. Or they'd give us a heavy discount, I'm sure. Yeah, I could actually use them for my parents.
Well, that's what you should do. All right. Where are we at? Sorry. Yeah, I was answering Nick.
Understood.
30 seconds.
So you want me to write to him too directly?
I answered for both of us, and I asked if they had your address.
I don't think they do.
Well, then they'll have to figure it out.
Indeed.
Welcome to another edition of AV Rant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H. This is AV Rant. It's your home theater and AV questions answered. Happy belated Thanksgiving for Canadian listeners. Well, I'm not exactly
super early Thanksgiving for American listeners.
That's right. But I am more turkey than man. I am more pumpkin pie than turkey. So that's me. Still stuffed.
Yeah. You guys do turkey too? Really?
Of course we do turkey.
Why don't you do like something else, like cheese curds or some crap? Right.
Well, some of us do ham. Ham is popular on turkey.
That's the same thing that we do. Why are you guys copying us?
We're not copying.
Yeah, you are.
I don't know if any of the food's different. Do cranberry sauce, stuffing, potatoes.
Same.
Brussels
Sweet potatoes
sprouts,
with mushroom,
broccoli.
with marshmallows on them. You do that crap?
Not at our house, but it is common. Squash, pumpkin pie.
So you go to Australia, you know what they do? And then like Christmas and New Year's, stuff like that. They don't have Thanksgiving because
yeah, they weren't pilgrims.
They weren't so much with it. They're still a little bit oppressing the people there, so they're still working on that Thanksgiving part. But yeah, it's all seafood, man. It's summer.
Okay.
It's summer, so it's all seafood.
Right.
Christmas and New Year's, man. It's seafood time.
Well, it's Kentucky Fried Chicken on Christmas in Japan, so you know.
That's weird. All right, this is AV Rant, the podcast that answers your home theater and AV questions. To get your questions answered, all you have to do is ask. You ask by emailing us a question at avrant.com. You go to www.avrant.com and leave us a comment there if you can. I don't know if that part's fixed, but 2A fixed the rest of it, I think.
Did he really?
I think so. It apparently has something to do, I don't know. There was some uncompressed things going on.
Yeah.
So I think it's fixed. I don't know.
That would be tremendous if true.
Yes. I hope it's fixed.
Me too.
All right. So Facebook.com/AVRant Podcast, YouTube.com/AVRant. Contact us directly, Rob at AVRant.com, at First Reflect for Twitter, Tom at AVRant.com, at AVRant_Tom. On Twitter, where I do not hang out at all, but I do still get announcements. So let's thank our listeners of the week. To be a listener of the week, you have to support the podcast in some way. One of the ways you can do that is by going to www.avrant.com, click on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, and leave us a PayPal donation. For that, we want to thank Thomas and Kenneth for doing that this week. So thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Kenneth. Those monies will go into our coffers to help pay for hosting fees and stuff. I don't know what else it pays for, but mostly hosting fees.
Thomas, Kenneth, thank you very much for those donations.
We want to thank our 72 patrons over at patreon.com. Patreon is a service where you can sign up for a monthly stipend to take from your account to give to your content creators of your choice. And we would literally appreciate it if you supported us. So thank you to our 72 patrons.
Yeah, that's patreon.com/AVRant podcast. If you'd like to sign up, $1 a month is the minimum. You can make it well more than $1 a month if you'd like to, and that'd be cool. And thanks so much to our 72 patrons who are supporting us over there.
I don't feel good. I got a sinus thing happening. And I can feel it's coming on all day. So I actually might step out of this podcast for a second to go, because my wife's going to go to bed and the medicine is in the bathroom in that bedroom. So I might step out so I can get that before she goes to bed. Because if I wake her up, then she's going to roast me slowly over very hot coals. The woman does not like to be woken up. So let's just talk about this real fast. We have SVS coming out with their Prime wireless products. They're supposed to be shipping on the 22nd of October. The $600 Prime wireless speakers and the $500 Prime wireless sound base both use DTS Play-Fi for whole house audio integration. They also have Bluetooth, optical, and RCA inputs. Control is via an app or front panel controls, including quick access presets to take you straight to your favorite streaming service channel or other input. They also have a subwoofer output that automatically detects when the subwoofer cable is plugged in and activates an 80 hertz crossover. That's nice. The Prime wireless speakers have 4 50-watt amplifiers, each amp for one amp for each driver in the speaker pair. So they get an amp for 50 watts for a tweeter. Never going to use 50 watts on a tweeter. But they got it. Lots of headroom. The sound base also has pre-out, so you can use it to add DTS Play-Fi and streaming to any receiver. So that's pretty cool. It's we'll probably be seeing these units in for review, or at least testing by us, one of us, or hopefully you.
Okay.
Yeah. If they say we're only going to send one unit, we're sending it to you. I don't want it. I don't really have any place to put it in the house, so I could test it out, and then it would just sit in the box someplace, or we could give it away to listeners for sure.
Well, if they let me keep them, I wanted a pair of Bluetooth connectable self-powered speakers for my parents, because they need something that can play louder and better than the current soundbar, but it needs to connect by Bluetooth, because my dad also uses Bluetooth headphones because he's got hearing loss, so it's much easier for him if he has headphones. But if they aren't both connected by Bluetooth, then there's a difference in the latency.
Sure.
And, somebody's hearing an echo. So, if that would work, if I can keep them, that'd be great to give it to my parents. It would be put to good use.
Yeah, so we'll see. There's a couple of our, like, I saw this before SVS even sent us the email. Like, I saw it on Facebook, and I was like, Rob, we're going to have to talk about this.
Well, yeah, they had been, like, we mentioned them months and months ago when they first said these are coming, and then the announcement now is just that they're available to pre-order.
So I saw a couple listeners like, oh, they could have done better with the aesthetics. I think it looks really cool. I'll be honest with you. I like the little rounded, the
little beveled chamfered edges there. Yeah.
And then the speakers themselves look nice too. I mean, they look about, I think, a little bit nicer than the normal Prime speakers. I think so. So we'll see what they look like when they get in here, but or how they play. I'm sure they'll be fine. Very much looking forward to that. So some of our AV Rant listeners seemed quite excited about the Microsoft Surface headphones that were announced for $350, and they're shipping November 19th. They have physical dials that you can turn on the ear cups, one for volume and the other adjust the level of active noise canceling. Really? Yeah. That second was a little weird to me, I guess, but whatever. Okay, so I went to the website and I clicked on the video, and they show this guy going down the street. He puts the things on. All of a sudden, it's like dead silence. So I'm like, lies. It's not going to be like that. Lies, but whatever. There are 8 microphones built in, and you can give voice commands using Cortana, and she'll say, "What? I don't understand what you're saying." I'm sorry, you'll ask again later. There's also touch controls for pausing and skipping and all that stuff. So they claim a 15-hour battery life, but that's probably if you're not actually using them. They're just sitting there for 15 hours.
Well, see, that's shorter battery life than like Bose's Quiet Comfort 35s, or what several reviewers have now gone on record saying these are now the best noise canceling headphones, which are Sony's new WH-1000s.
Right.
All of which cost $350. So these are very much all in the same ballpark. These Microsoft Surface headphones, they do have the feature where if you're playing music and you take them off your head, they automatically pause and then play again when you put them back on your head. I don't know. Some people like that. But yeah, I mean, the thing that separates these is the being able to adjust the amount of active noise canceling.
Yeah, I
Don't
guess
know
that's
how
something.
effective that. They say there's 13 steps basically
I
from.
might have clicked on the wrong one. You have two links here. Maybe I was
I
looking at
do.
the Sony's
You might have been looking at the Sony's.
with the videos. Yeah, I think I was. So that one I was full of lies. I guess the Microsoft one I didn't look at it, so I don't know. What's
Well,
full.
they're making very similar claims. So
I'm
yeah, you
sure.
can go all the way from basically let the noise in to block out as much of it as the technology is capable of doing. But the 15-hour battery life is actually less than either of the competing ones at the same price. So and a lot of they seem to be attributing that to Cortana always listening for her name. So that seems to be some of what's going on there.
So high maintenance.
Yeah. They're
I
also
think they
only come in gray, which is weird.
Is that gray?
Yeah.
I thought it was white.
No, it's gray.
All right. Well, this is the worst.
And they have the Windows logo on it, which I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I think they're kind of ugly, but whatever. If they sound good, I don't really care. But they look super cheap from the.
I don't know, man. Those don't look like they would be over ear for me.
They don't to me either. I thought the same thing.
Yeah,
they
look like
more
they're going
these,
on my ears.
The
PM3s.
Oppos, the PM3s, the smaller ones, which are over ear for me, but I got baby ears, so what's that?
Oh, well.
All right.
Some people seem excited about them. So
couple comments here. Rob's, is this you?
Yeah, me.
Okay. Marantz, your Marantz SR7010 got its Dolby Vision pass-through update, and thanks to Nathan, one of our listeners, for the reminder. So exciting, I guess. You don't have anything Dolby Vision, so who cares?
I have lots of Dolby Vision.
Oh, you do now?
I have two TVs that are Dolby Vision. I have an Oppo that's Dolby Vision. Lots of Dolby Vision going on over here.
Best Buy threw up all over your house. Brett says that Mass Drop has a Send Acoustic Sierra 2 speakers selling for $1,250 per pair. What are they normally, like $1,500?
About $1,500, yeah. $1,450 for the most basic finish, and then at least $1,500 or $1,550 for the fancier finish.
Mass Drop is. What is that? When sort of discount?
So it's basically like a whole bunch of people all agree to buy together, so you get like a group discount price.
Whatever. The drop is only available until Friday, October 12th. So probably about the time that you're hearing this podcast.
If you're hearing the audio only version, you might be able to get it today if you're hearing it on Friday. Yeah.
So you need to jump on it if you want the discount. They'll ship at the beginning of November. So good luck with that. All right. Yeah. I am going to go grab that medicine. So why don't you start with Richard's question? I'll be right back.
I sure shall. So yeah, this is from Richard B. He wrote to us previously. So we talked about, it's actually Richard's friend's new basement home theater, and that was during episode number 609. So both of them enjoyed hearing our advice, and Richard's friend is pretty much all set to go with the Denon X3400H and the Paradigm speakers from Gibby's Electronic Supermarket in Canada that we suggested. So just some reminder photos of this was basement setup. Obviously the photos we're showing is before anything has been set up, but they had already hung the fixed frame projection screen, and it's definitely an oddly shaped room. There's sort of an open space to the left. You can catch a little glimpse of the foosball table in one of these images that I'm showing, and there's stairs going upstairs and that. So yeah, not a perfect rectangle by any means, and a pretty reflective looking room overall, but we recommended rugs and other things like that. So when we were making recommendations, we didn't make it completely clear which subwoofer we were recommending, but I actually did add in the show notes, both the ones you can find on avrant.com and the ones you can find on our YouTube channel for that episode 609. I mentioned the SVS PC2000 cylinder sub from SVS. Also had the link going to electronicsforless.ca. That was the link that I included there. So he was just double checking, is that our recommendation? Is that also the best Canadian retailer to buy it from? And absolutely, for this size of room, the PC2000 has adequate output and extension. Said he wanted to start with just one sub to begin with. Having the cylinder form factor saves you from some floor space and should be easy to move around and position, find the best location doing a subwoofer crawl. And electronicsforless.ca is definitely the place to go if you're in Canada. There is also Sonic Boom Audio, but actually they're the same company, so it doesn't really matter which one you go to. So Richard's friend also definitely wanted to start with just one subwoofer, but he asks, would he be getting a large upgrade if he were to add a second subwoofer in the future? What do you think, Tom, in this room?
Oh, jeez, Rob, I just
ran
back in here. Which one are you on? B?
Yeah, no, yeah, on B. Yeah, the if you need a second subwoofer, do you think you'd get a big upgrade?
What's the size of this room again? He's got stairs, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I believe there was a door at the top of those stairs, so we're under 4,000 cubic feet. just barely. I mean, I'm pretty much always in favor of a second sub, but because it's such an irregularly shaped space,
That's the thing is that I mean, that's what I was trying to figure out where the couch was. I see a bed,
yeah,
so I guess
that's the couch is more or less going to be at the front of that half wall area.
Right. It's going to be hard to place. That's what it really comes down to. It's going to be very
impossible
hard
to predict where to place. Yeah,
to have a good spot for it. So, could it be a big upgrade? Yes. Will it definitely be a big upgrade? I'm not sure. It may cause more problems than it solves. I like the idea of going with one to start with and then seeing where you are.
Yeah, I would definitely talk to the friend and find out, does he really mostly just care about one seat? Or does he care a lot about multiple seats? Because if he really mostly cares about one seat, the one sub will probably do him well, especially if he does a subwoofer crawl. If he cares a lot about multiple seats, you really can't get uniform bass across multiple seats with just one sub.
No, you can't do it. But not only that, this room screams that he's going to have that seat on the back wall.
No, he was going to have it a bit forward.
Is he going to push it in? Okay.
But not a huge amount.
No, I know. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would go with one. I'd start with one and then see. And just remember, if you buy from SVS, and I mean maybe other retailers, but we know SVS. I mean, I would call other retailers before you do this. But SVS, if you buy one and then later on you decide to buy the second one, if you call them, they'll give you the discount that you would have gotten.
Yeah, I'm not sure about if you do that through their affiliate in Canada. I'm not sure if they do that same deal or not. But it doesn't hurt to call and ask because it's possible.
So we didn't think about a universal remote the first time around. So what would we recommend on that front? Richard uses a Harmony Companion himself, and he loves it. Should his friend go with that? Or would the more expensive Harmony Elite be a better choice? The Companion, which one's that? Is that the one?
So the Companion is the one that's all hard buttons, no touch screen on the little handheld remote itself. But it does come with the hub.
It's very easy, dude. You have your friend over, and you hand them your remote, and you say, how do you like it?
Well,
do you wish this had a touchscreen? Because if you do, then you'll have to spend a couple of dollars more.
There's a bit more to it than that, though, which is that once you have the hub, you can always use the app on a smartphone.
That's true.
So if you want a touch screen,
I hate that.
Yeah, if you want a touch screen only occasionally, as long as you've got a smartphone or a tablet, you can have one. You just put the Harmony app on there, and there it is. And if you're like most people, and 99% of the time you're using the same buttons, mostly the directional buttons and OK and volume up, volume down is what most people use the majority of the time, then the Companion is perfect for that. So, if he's someone who uses less common buttons frequently, ones that would need to be labeled on a touchscreen,
or number of sources and stuff like that. I mean, can make a difference. There's a lot of. I like the touchscreen. I have the older one. It's not called that. It's not called the Elite. It's called
it was Ultimate. Harmony Ultimate, I believe it was called.
Where it's got the stupid buttons at the very top, which was a stupid design.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Which is fine most of the time.
Yep.
Now, I think in my history of having this remote control, I have accidentally pressed the wrong button and turned things off or on or switched to a different source maybe twice. So if that's a consideration, then you shouldn't worry. I don't think you should worry too much about it because I still have the stupid thing all the time. The kids leave it everywhere.
But it does cost like $200 more. So
but it's I don't know. Like I said, if it depends on what your friend's going to use it for. You gotta really figure out what your friend's use case scenario is, because if they're just turning it on and then once it's on, they're always watching the same thing. Well, they don't really need anything. So Rich is very happy that we stress the importance of the room's acoustics and the need to add absorption panels in this basement room. He's almost certain his friend would like to have movie posters, so that brings up the whole topic of getting printed acoustic panels, but having to worry about copyright. Since they're in Canada, where should they buy the acoustic panels? And is there a good option if he wants movie poster images? Not legally. And what about taking actual paper movie posters, just attaching them to the front of the acoustic panels? Would that work? Well, the answer to the second part is no. I mean, yes, it will. You can physically do it.
Right.
It's just gonna. It's going to inhibit the functioning of the panels pretty heavily.
bass, it would actually still kind of work for the most part.
Yeah, I
But
would say the bass wouldn't be much of an issue, but anything above like in that treble range is just going to bounce
yeah,
right off of that paper.
yeah, now you just have a reflector.
Yeah,
So you have not absorbed any of the mid-range and higher frequencies. I wouldn't recommend just putting a paper movie poster on top of an absorption panel. It kind of largely defeats the purpose. So there is, of course, Rob W's
right.
post about how to make DIY printed movie posters. We have that on avrant.com. That's a great resource. There is also a link on AVS Forum that's all about making DIY movie posters. On DIY acoustic panels. Now, if you just want to buy a pre-made panel because you don't want to go through the hassle of making it
Right.
yourself, and then you're just okay with wrapping fabric around it, because obviously at some point you need to wrap the printed fabric around it, there is Acoustic Panels Canada. So they are in Canada. Once you factor in cross-border shipping from somewhere like GIC or Acoustimac, the prices are very comparable, if not cheaper, going with Acoustic Panels Canada. So if you just want to get the panel, they also have DIY materials if you just want to buy the insulation there and that. So that's a good resource in Canada. Prices are reasonable. And then the place to go these days seems to be myfabricdesigns.com. So far, they, at least according to the information I've been able to find, they haven't stopped printing movie posters yet. At some point, they probably
They haven't
will.
gotten their cease and desist yet, so keep it on the down low.
But they very clearly do offer shipping to Canada. So they are based in the States, but they definitely offer shipping to Canada. I don't know off the top of my head what service that's based in Canada that does printing like this, but My Fabric Designs is inexpensive. They definitely ship to Canada. They seem to still print movie posters, so you can inquire at the very least.
Yeah, good luck with that. John has been waiting to upgrade his projector. He's been eyeing the Epson 5040 UB, but he really does not want to spend more than $2,000. Now that the replacement model has been announced at IFA, do we expect the 5040 to drop below 2,000 soon, or is there a different model he should be considering that would fit his budget? So, quick internet search showed that you can get this model for just over $2,000 on eBay. So
Yep.
who knows? But Amazon is like 2,500. Directly from Epson, it's 2,500. You know, from Newegg,
most
it's like
places are 2,500. Some places do have refurbished for right around $2,000.
Do I expect them to come down? Eventually. How long are you willing to wait? Because you know they were. I mean, do they have a direct replacement of it? Don't they? So they should.
Well, it hasn't. Weirdly, it hasn't been officially announced in North America yet. I mean, I'm expecting it to just be called the 5050 UB.
Right.
And strangely, it hasn't been officially announced yet. So I don't know if they're waiting on a certification or something, maybe. But
yeah, it could be, or they're just. Yeah, it's probably what it is. They're probably waiting on something that's stopping them from announcing it officially.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, they announced the TW 9400 in Europe, which would be the exact sister model in the United States to the 6050 UB. That would be in the Pro Cinema series instead of the Home Cinema series, where they give you a black case instead of a white case, and that's about the only difference. Yeah, gosh, 2000. I think if you're willing, I know for sure if you're willing to go refurbished, you can do this.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if it does drop to, maybe it'll be like 2,100 or something, but it would be within spitting distance. Because interestingly, like the 4000 series, which was the contemporary, the slightly less expensive contemporary to the 5040 UB, that's now down to 1,500 brand new. And its replacement, the 4010, is already being discounted to 1,800 off of its $2,000 MSRP. So given that both of those are now under 2,000, it sort of makes room for the 5040 to maybe be discounted. Like I say, at 2,100, I'd probably jump on that. And I think that's highly likely. I would also mention, give AV Science a call, because they're very good about offering discounts on brand new projectors, and they do carry Epson. So it's worth at least getting in touch with them.
All right, the dimensions of John's theater are roughly 15 by 15 by 8. He expanded his 7.2 speaker setup to 7.2.2 Atmos. He says it would be fairly easy for him to change that to 5.2.4 instead, but he owns a lot more movies and 7.1 soundtracks than Atmos soundtracks, and the majority of his content, both owned and streamed, is of course 5.1. So what speaker configuration is actually going to work best? What happens to the surround back content in the 7.1 soundtracks if he uses the 5.2.4? And what will the difference be when he's upmixing 5.1 content? Is 5.2.4 a whole lot different than 7.2.2? I don't know where you're sitting in this room.
Mm.
So I don't know how far away you're sitting from the back wall. So my answer to you would be it depends on where you're sitting. If
Mm.
you've got room behind you for the 2 rear speakers and you really want them to be there and because of the 7.1 content that you have. Now, for those of you that are thinking, what is this guy talking about? Well, if you're worried about the actual channel information, the information that is on a 7.1 soundtrack is channel based, meaning that there's sounds that are supposed to come out of each one of those speakers and they're programmed specifically for those speakers. If you don't have them, then the information is mixed back into the surround back information will be mixed into the side surrounds.
Mhm.
Is that a bad thing? No, it really doesn't matter that much. I got to be honest with you. I think they do a very good job of doing that, and it's not something that I would ever worry about. But for me, the question is not what is best for the type of stuff that I listen to. The question really is what's best for my room. And if your room
Sure.
is set up in such a way that you've got 3 feet between you and your back wall, which might be likely in a room that's only 15 feet deep,
Mhm.
I don't think you have enough room behind you for surround back speakers.
Agreed.
And then therefore I would go 5.1 or 5.2.4.
Mhm.
But if you have, or you're sitting smack dab in the middle of that room, you're like, well, I really want those speakers to be back there. That's fine too. Generally speaking, my go-to answer in this situation is if somebody comes to me and says, I'm going to have Atmos. Okay.
Mhm.
First of all, let's recognize that I'm not foisting Atmos upon them. They were coming to me with saying that they want Atmos. And I want to have, I can have either 7.2.2 or 5.2.4. Which one should I get? I'm going to say 5.2.4
Right.
almost all the time,
Yeah.
regardless of the room.
I'm in that camp as well. Now, I mean, the number of times that you really notice a sound panning overhead, it's kind of few and far between. But you know what's also few and far between is hearing sounds directly behind you in surround backs.
That's
So,
true.
I mean, if you have a really strong preference for hearing something directly behind you from a surround back speaker, okay. Also, if you have a really strong preference for rarely hearing a sound pan overhead from front to back, then also okay. So that can help you answer that. I lean towards having the 4 overhead speakers. I like having the ability to pan the sounds side to side and front to back, which you cannot do if you only have 2 overheads. And given that you are in quite a small room, I'm betting surround backs are kind of close to you anyway.
So
So
we're going to find this out in a second here. So yes.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards 5.2.4, but if you're like, I really want those sounds behind me, then I'm like, yeah, stick with 7.
So a seat is near the middle of the room, and the most convenient places for him to mount overhead speakers would be 3 feet from the front wall and 3 feet from the back wall. So roughly 5 feet in front of the seat and roughly 4 feet behind the seat. He'd be using Focal Bird speakers. So will these positions fall within Dolby speaker placement guidelines for top front and top rear speakers? Yeah. Yeah. Top fronts and top rears. Yes.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah. They go by angles there.
Yeah,
And
but you're 8 feet, and it's usually what, like 5 feet in front and 5 feet behind ish, 3 to 5, 3 to 6 or something like that. Is that what you usually say?
yeah, very much so. Yeah, because so assuming you have a pretty average seated ear height of about 3 feet, that leaves
Right.
approximately 5 feet from your ears to the ceiling. So if the speakers are 5 feet in front of you, that is exactly a 45-degree elevation angle, which is smack dab in the middle of where they would want top fronts and top rears to be. So that would be the 5 feet in front of you. Now, if it's 4 feet behind you, then the elevation angle is going to be a little bit higher than that. But top rears can be up to 55 degrees in elevation angle.
Right.
So if they're about 4 feet behind you, it should be right around a 51-degree field of view at that point, or 51 degree elevation angle at that point. So you're right where top fronts and top rears should be with those placements.
Yeah. Since he'll be using Focal Bird speakers, should they be pointed straight down, or should he pivot the mounts to angle them towards the listening position? They should be pointed straight down. That's exactly the way they're meant to be. I know. You're like, but I can point them at my face.
Non-intuitive, and if they are front heights and rear heights where they're closer to the walls, then they do mention like angling those a little bit. But the top ones, the ones that are actually on the ceiling, they're just supposed to be pointing straight on down.
Yeah.
Straight down.
Earl asks, can we offer any insight as to why a few movies still aren't getting Ultra HD Blu-ray releases? Why would the movie only come out in 1080p Blu-rays these days? Is it purely a cost issue? I mean, we have no insider knowledge on this.
There's lots of movies that don't come out on Ultra HD Blu-ray, though. Lots of them.
There's more. I mean, I think it's really big budget releases right now are the ones that are coming out in Ultra HD Blu-ray, because there's really very little reason to put the other ones out because, they're just there's not as much demand for them. I mean,
Yeah.
Solo sold out like at our local place. My mom was trying to, my brother, my autistic brother, was trying to buy it for my mom for her birthday, which was today,
Hmm.
and it was sold out the first day that it was out, or the first day they went looking for it, which would have been the Friday after it was released.
Must be
And,
all those people who said how much they hate it and won't
oh
support
yeah,
Star Wars anymore.
oh yeah, the boycott is in full effect. Get woke, go broke. So yeah, no, it's just completely sold out. I haven't seen it yet. My mom's going to bring it over this weekend and we're going to watch it. I'm very excited about it. I've heard it's very good. I mean, very okay. I think maybe it's a better way of saying it. It's very okay, which is okay with me. I'm okay with very okay. I'm okay with very okay. I like very okay.
But yeah, I mean, there are movies that and other releases that are only coming out on DVD, not even on Blu-ray. That still exists.
That's still a thing.
Yeah, so I mean, the number of production facilities for Ultra HD Blu-ray is still small relative to the production facilities for Blu-ray, which is small relative to the production facilities for DVD. So there's that side of it. The potential market for Ultra HD Blu-ray is still much, much smaller. So yeah, I think they are kind of picking and choosing. The big blockbusters are definitely showing up on Ultra HD, but movies that got a theatrical release but were smaller, they're tending not to show up on Ultra HD yet.
Yeah. I mean, why would they? Honestly,
Bit.
Why would you spend the extra money to do that when you're going to have lower sales of those? Right now, I mean, if you sell a DVD, every player that anybody has at home can play it for sure. Right? There's a smaller subset that if you release a Blu-ray now, it's the penetration is pretty good on Blu-rays these days, but it's not 100%. And then Ultra HDs are even smaller. So
there are more 4K releases available on, say, iTunes or Vudu than there are on physical disc, which I'm not super happy about. I mean, it means there's a 4K version. Clearly it exists. So it would be nice if those came out on physical disc, but no, it's I guess there must be some cost thing going on there.
So Gus over on Twitter. Gus says, Movies Anywhere has Disney, Fox, Sony, Universal, and Warner Brothers on board, and Universal just announced that they're no longer part of Ultraviolet. Paramount, MGM, and Lionsgate still haven't joined Movies Anywhere, so will we ever be able to have access to all movies on one platform? Dude. No,
probably not. Unfortunately,
let's be honest here. The reality is, yes, it would be great for the end user, but you know who it's not great for? The people that are trying to get money out of your pocket. And as long as that's the case, they're all. I mean,
it is silly.
We've got all these different streaming services now. It's like, oh, you have to sign up for CBS Anywhere, whatever the heck it's called, All Access or
CBS All Access. Yeah, that's there.
Just so you can get the new crappy Star Trek thing. That's apparently crappy.
Oh, you have to sign up for the DC online thing if you want all of their horrible looking
Disney's
shows.
Going to have theirs, and
Disney's definitely going to have theirs.
They're gonna. That one's 100%. I mean, they're going to make money. They're 100% going to make.
That
money.
One's going to work.
That one, I have no. I mean,
well, they got so much content they could put on there, and they own Fox now, so
I know
they could just put every season of The Simpsons on there, and yeah. So, I mean, Disney never joined Ultraviolet. They were the studio that held it because they had Disney Movies Anywhere, which has now become Movies Anywhere once all these other studios have signed on. So I don't know. I guess, who knows, maybe Paramount and Lionsgate had a bigger stake in Ultraviolet than the other guys or something like that. I don't exactly know. Again, behind the scenes, we're not privy to it all.
All right. They could have signed some sort of contract we don't know about. Who knows?
But I mean, will we ever have access to all the movies on one platform now?
Yeah, it's called BitTorrent.
No, but I mean, there's also iTunes and Vudu.
That's true.
I mean, iTunes, you can't redeem Ultraviolet titles on iTunes. Right. You could redeem the iTunes thing or Movies Anywhere, works on iTunes. Vudu was Ultraviolet, so you could redeem Ultraviolet on Vudu, and then it also works with Movies Anywhere, but you couldn't redeem iTunes passes on Vudu. So the nice thing was, if you were like, okay, I redeemed a bunch of things that weren't available, or I didn't get an iTunes code, but I got an Ultraviolet code, so I redeemed them on Vudu, and then vice versa. I had some iTunes codes, but not Ultraviolet codes, so I redeemed those on iTunes. What's great about Movies Anywhere is now they cross-pollinate, and they're like, okay, everything that you redeemed on either of them is available on both if they're part of Movies Anywhere, but if they're not part of Movies Anywhere, if they're from Paramount, MGM, and Lionsgate, they're probably stuck on one service or the other wherever you were able to redeem it. So I get how that is annoying because it's going to be some of your movies are stuck on whatever platform you redeemed them on. Yeah, fair enough. I wouldn't hold my breath. I would continue using both iTunes and Vudu if Vudu were even an option for me. I'm only using iTunes because that's all that I got in Canada.
I haven't bought a single movie on iTunes. I'm not about to start now. Chris, HGTV Test posted a YouTube video about Cinemike in Germany. Cinemike modifies products, specifically Oppo players, JVC projectors, and Marantz processors, seemingly by hand.
That's what the video showed. Handheld soldering iron.
Sorry, the sneeze is real.
I thought you were reacting to it.
No, I'm not. I'm trying not to sneeze on this podcast.
The sinus.
I'm telling you, this sinus infection is killing me. Got like this, like my teeth hurt on my left side. It's driving me nuts. And I haven't taken any medicine because I knew I was doing this. So I tried to get Lee to fill in for me today, and he was like, "Nah, man, I can't." I'm like, "I'm dying, Lee. You're a terrible person. You need to subwoofer." Replacing components on the circuit boards and replacing power supplies with supposedly higher quality parts, all in the effort to lower noise floor and improve performance. The HGTV test guys say they're skeptics, and they said they pretty much didn't see any picture quality differences, so they're dubious about paying thousands of dollars to mod things on the video side. But on the audio side, Vincent Teo was quite effusive, saying he heard obvious improvements when using a modded for $5,500 extra Oppo 205 player versus the standard 205. So Chris would like our take on that. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. You know why? Because it's very easy to tell differences with your eyes, and it's not so easy to tell differences with your ears. So that $5,500 difference is 100% between the ears. 100%.
Well, not necessarily, because they were playing a modded Oppo 205 on a modded Marantz AV8805, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, because what he was describing in terms of the sound quality from the non-modified Oppo 205, and again, this is only an analog audio. So if you're like, everyone really should be using an Oppo player and you're using an HDMI connection for the audio, zero differences to be had. They're only modifying the analog stuff because that's
the only thing they can.
Kind of all you could to make any difference. So this is the analog audio output on an Oppo 205, which is heralded as a reference quality analog transport.
They're making it better, though. $5,500.
They say they're making it better. But what Vincent was describing in what he heard when playing the non-modified 205, I'm like, oh, they put parts in that Marantz that have boosted the gain to the point that it's clipping.
Okay. And
the modified Oppo 205 is probably lowering the gain on the output side so that it doesn't clip anymore. Because, I mean, what he was describing was 100% clipping.
See, I tried to watch that video. I could not do it.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. It was so long, and him just sitting there talking.
Now,
it was just,
Vincent, he did a review of some, like the Focal Sib Evo Dolby Atmos speakers and that. And in that review, he's like, he's not an audio guy. He's a video guy through and through, and he's a fantastic video guy. I mean, if you want, he's a man who knows his stuff on the video side, and he is a professional calibrator, and I trust him implicitly when it comes to anything video. He is self-admittedly not an audio guy, and I'm like, you fell for it, Vincent. You fell for it. Because they're playing a modified product on a modified product, and we know for a fact that the non-modified 205, it doesn't sound like that on a non-modified Marantz processor. It doesn't clip. It's not what's happening.
See, I didn't get that far, but the reality here is if we had taken and just used a normal Marantz, the differences were going to be either negative or a type of EQ.
Right.
You know, because that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing when you're modding something when that's already a reference. The reference stuff is sending it out absolutely pure or as pure as possible, which in these days, in this day and age, analog ain't that hard.
Well, I mean, what was funny, there was another clue. They were talking about lowering the noise floor on the Oppo 205. I'm like, lowering the noise floor on the Oppo 205? Which, again, already a reference class device as far as the transport goes. I'm like, the only way you could do that is by reducing the gain on the output stage.
Right.
So all of it really adds up. And I'm like, you fell for it, Vincent. And unfortunately, so I don't blame him on that. This is the type of stuff. It's going on for as long as audio has existed, honestly. Replace the tubes. It sounds different, right?
Right. Well, I mean, we've seen stuff like this before. We've seen Sony CD players where they'll take and there'll be like a cut a hole in the top of it and there's a tube sticking out the top. I don't know if that tube's connected to anything, but there it is, all glowing red. And, it's in all of these, all of these hotel rooms at the show, the THE show, the high-end show, which is what shows, whatever. But every one of these little hotel rooms has this little Sony player with a tube sticking out the top of it. I'm like, what are you guys doing, man? What are you doing? What do you think you're doing to this thing? As you play a CD on it, what do you think the tube is doing? But if you've got the money to spend, and this is the thing. I have a friend of mine, and who's their significant other is getting into crystals and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So let me just tell you something, friend of mine, when your significant other comes into my house and starts talking about these things, I'm going to have to either shut them down or they're going to have to leave, because those are going to be the options. I'm not going to sit here and have to listen to this. I got other family members who I cannot kick out of my house that will talk about this stuff as if it's real. And I'm just not dealing with it. This is the same thing here. This is all, hey, let's break something so that we can show you that ours is better. It's like, you're not doing anything, man. You're not doing anything. It was fine. Leave it alone. Give me your $5,500 and just I'll sell you a 205. All right, Nathan. Nathan says apparently MoviePass has sent emails to a bunch of test group recipients saying that they're restoring their one movie per day plan for $10 a month. The catch? They're restoring the plan for people who have canceled their MoviePass subscriptions, and the email says they have to opt out by October 4th. So if you're hearing this now, whoops. In other words, they're just going to reactivate canceled accounts and start charging former subscribers again. So Nathan wants to know how long we think it will take for a lawsuit to be filed over this. If there's not one already, there's no way they're going to get away with this, right? I don't see how they can. I mean, how can they?
So there are people on Reddit today, the day we're recording this, on Tuesday, October 9th, who are saying they actually wanted this to happen because they canceled because MoviePass took away the one movie per day thing.
Well, if you could opt into this before as you cancel, like if as you're canceling, they said, if we bring it back, do you want it again? And you said yes. Well, that's one thing.
Very much so.
But there's always going to be somebody who's like, yes, I wanted to get slapped across the face. I don't understand why other people don't want to get slapped on the face. I love to be slapped across the face. Everybody else is like, you're a weirdo, so stop talking and, be weird someplace else. You're freaking out my kids. That's, there's going to be people who are going to be like, oh, sure. Yeah, I totally
but I didn't get to finish my thought on that thing, which was they were saying they wanted this, so they purposely did not opt out. They're like, okay, that's good. This is the plan I wanted. Give it back to me. And they're like, it isn't working. October 4th has come and gone. It isn't working. So some of them are like, oh, maybe they decided this isn't the best way to handle it and they're kind of holding off or something. MoviePass is changing what they're doing. I mean, not even from week to week, from like day to day, they change their mind on what they're doing. So things are bizarre over there, but be on the lookout. If you canceled MoviePass and you haven't checked your spam email folder,
cancel it over and over again.
That's terrible. You don't do that. Someone cancels their account, you reactivate them without them explicitly saying, yes, I would like to. That's horrible.
Yeah. So I really like the idea of all these services that are out there. I like the idea of them. This idea that you can, pay a monthly fee, whatever it might be, and have unlimited movies or some version of unlimited movies. Because there were times in my life that I would have really taken advantage of that, and I would have really liked it. And honestly, I have no idea what the movie theaters are having. Wouldn't want this to be a thing, because a lot of times they're making their money from concessions, anyways. I mean, I know it's not all, but they certainly don't want to give up any revenue if they don't have to. But I would go see a lot more movies. Like if I went to go see, I'm telling you, if I went to go see a movie and they said, okay, with your movie ticket, it's like what they do with Disney, right? And all these other places, they're like, buy a ticket for today, or buy a 2-day a 1-day pass, and we'll give you 3 days, or we'll give you a year's membership. There's one place that does that down here, because we have all kinds of amusement parks in Florida. They're like, oh, buy 1 day, get the rest of the year for free. I'm like, okay, So,
Yeah.
I mean, they get me anyways. They get me on the popcorn because it's all we gotta have popcorn when we go into the Busch Gardens or whatever. They get me on the parking because I won't pay the extra for the parking on up front, which I should, but I don't. So I pay $20 to park every time I go to this stupid place. But they get me. They're getting some extra money that they wouldn't have normally gotten. So I think that this is a really good idea. Just the application of it so far hasn't been so great.
Apparently, MoviePass just got another $65 million in funding from somebody.
They did. They activated 6.5 million people's accounts again. That's how you get $65 million.
It wasn't subscriber money, but I mean, somebody still thinks they can make a go of it with this thing. Meanwhile, AMC's A-List, which is the only one that we've said we're kind of behind, the Stubbs A-List, because that's actually coming from AMC. They announced that their goal was to sign up 500,000 people in 1 year. Well, in the 14 weeks since it came out, they've already signed up 400,000. So they're very happy. They're like, we're definitely going to hit 500,000 in a year if we've signed up 400,000 in 14 weeks. So, I don't know. I wouldn't trust MoviePass. This doesn't make me trust them anymore. That's for sure. Shady stuff like this.
I mean, it's as little as when you go to the movies and if they'd say, oh, okay, your movie ticket is $10. If you pay $12, you can come back and watch, as 2 more movies this month, in the next 30 days. I'd be like, yeah, I might come back and see another movie. I probably won't, but I might. And for $2, at least I have the option. I mean, I don't know why they haven't been doing that already, but whatever. All right, let's go on. Dave is getting a 137-inch drop-down acoustically transparent projection screen, and he'll have a 70-inch flat panel behind it. He preferred to have the projector on his coffee table, which should be about 10 feet away from the screen. Wait, what? The coffee table will be 10 feet away from the screen, or
that's the way he wrote it. That's
so where's the project? What? So where's the projection screen is going to be 10 feet away from the 70-inch flat panel?
It seems. No. 70-inch flat panel on the wall.
Yeah.
137-inch projection screen that comes down in front of it. 10 feet from that is a coffee table, and then seats behind the coffee table.
Oh, okay. And seats behind the coffee table. All right.
Yeah. So he's like,
I thought the flat panel was on the projector. The projector. I thought the flat panel. I got confused. All right. So he doesn't mind if the projector is 1080p instead of 4K. He'd like to keep it as inexpensive as possible. So there's a projector with a short enough throw that it could fill his intended 137-inch screen size from that distance. All right. I'm just going to say, before we go on, because I'm sure there's a projector that could do this, I hate this idea a lot. It's just, the projector on the coffee table, for me, it's there's always light that leaks out of projectors, like always. Yeah, I've never seen a projector that didn't leak a little bit of light, and I'm afraid fan noise will also be an issue. Plus, they tend to get hot. So now you've got this little heater on your coffee table. That's this little slightly glowing, slightly humming heater on your coffee table.
Yes, I had a projector coffee table set up at one point. Now my coffee table, it was like the top of the coffee table, and then it had a shelf underneath. Okay. And I had the projector in that shelf, so the projector was like below the surface of the coffee table, so I didn't really see much of the projector. I guess it was producing heat in that, but it was never a problem. So this is potential to work now. So the main thing to keep in mind is that we're interested in the distance from the lens of the projector on the very front of the projector to the screen. So sometimes the distances are a little different because of that. But it's a little bit tricky. If it's exactly 10 feet from the front of the coffee table, meaning that's as far forward as the projector could be, to the screen, I don't have a projector that's going to fit perfectly on that. Now, there's the options I would point you to would be from BenQ.
Okay.
So BenQ's HT 2050 is now the 2050A. That's the current model. It goes for $750. It's 1080p. Really nice little DLP projector. Has a little teeny bit of vertical lens shift on that model, which could be helpful. But the closest it could be from the lens to the screen for a 137-inch screen, and I'm just going by Projector Central's projector calculator thing that they have, which is very, very handy. The closest it could be is 11 feet 5 inches. Now, maybe if you have that projector towards the back of your coffee table, because the one thing to know about the BenQs is that the entirety of the image, if you're talking about a coffee table mount where the projector is right side up, the entirety of the image will be above the lens of the projector. There's a little bit of lens offset, and all of the image will be a little bit higher than the lens of the projector. That's the way the BenQs are. So it's not as though you have to worry about some of the image being cast downward towards the coffee table or anything like that. All of the image is being cast upward a little bit.
That's cool.
So
I mean, especially since coffee tables tend to be lower than the bottom of your screen anyways.
That's right. Yeah.
So
11 feet 5 inches might work. You might have to put it right towards the back of your coffee table, but potentially it could work. Now, they do have a sister model, which is the HT2150. So not the 2050, the 2150 with the letters ST on the end, and that stands for short throw. Now, this is a short throw projector, not an ultra short throw. That gets conflated a lot. A lot of people say short throw when they mean ultra short throw. Ultra short throw are the ones where the projector's like a foot away from the wall, a foot away from the screen. Yeah, they're right up there by the projector. He doesn't want that. The short throw just means it's a lens, but it's a shorter throw. Now, unfortunately, with that one, it could be anywhere from 6 feet 10 inches from the screen. There's a 137-inch screen we're talking about, so that's darn close. The farthest it can be is 8 feet 3 inches.
Dude, there's no way. There's no way. I mean, if you think about it, because we got to, for those of you that
he could put a little table in front of his coffee table.
He's got a little table for his projector.
Now the projector a little bit in front of the coffee table. That might work with 8 feet 3 inches. But I mean, those are the ones. Like, there's none of the Epsons that can get close enough. They're all looking at, I think at a minimum was 13 feet from lens to screen. So that's definitely further than you're looking for.
Right, but even 11.5 from lens to screen. I mean, most projectors are what, a foot deep?
About a foot deep.
Yeah. So his coffee table would have to be, if it's front of the coffee table to this
3 feet deep.
It'd have to be 3 feet deep for him to get that. I don't think that that's what it's going to be.
Some people have a square coffee table that's like 4 feet by 4 feet, but if that's not you,
you can't use anything in front of this thing. Like half of that coffee
little stool in front of the coffee table holding the 2150 short throw. Now the 2150 short throw goes for $850, so it's a little bit more expensive, a little bit different lens. Price goes up, and they don't make as many of them. I don't know. I don't have a better suggestion than either of those two though, because there's nothing else.
Yeah, this is a very unique problem.
I did also want to mention the 70-inch. I don't know if that's a 4K TV or not, and if you've got a 4K TV but a 1080p projector, that could cause issues too.
Yeah. Let's nip that one in the bud. So hey, how do you feel about 1080p content on your 4K screen? Because that's what you're going to get.
You could do that.
Unless you're going to be hot swapping,
unplugging. Yeah. Well, if it's on a coffee table, unplugging it from the back isn't so bad.
Yeah, you got a point there.
That's easy access.
Yeah. Especially since that coffee table will be sitting in the middle of the room because it's too short.
So I don't know if those. Yeah, it sucks that there isn't one that's bang on, but that's as close as I can get you. It's either a little bit farther than you wanted.
It's literally going to have to be sitting next to his projector. It's going to be on the chair with him. Like every time he sits down, the whole screen
wobbles. It has its own little stool in front of the coffee table. You know.
Yeah, the dog comes by and knocks it over. Well,
or you ceiling mount the thing, and all of this goes away.
Yeah, I was going to say, just once you be regular like everybody else.
Also need to mention that HT2150 short throw, no vertical lens shift at all. So where it's sitting, you got to put the projector where it's going to be first, and then figure out exactly how much you need to lower that screen, because there is no adjustment on the 2150 short throw other than like physically tilting it and using keystone adjustment, which would be less than ideal.
Right.
It's problematic, Dave.
Well, with a drop screen though, you do usually have options.
Some play,
yeah.
But sometimes it's like a little bit coarse in its adjustment. Getting this perfect could be a challenge.
Yeah. Chris wants to improve his 5.1 bedroom setup. He's using a BIC F12 subwoofer, a Denon 1312 receiver, and a Mica MB42X speakers. The Denon is an older entry-level receiver model, so it's HDMI 1.4. Does not have auto setup of any kind, no Odyssey, none of that stuff. Chris has around $350 to spend, so he wants to know what would deliver the most noticeable upgrade. He likes the idea of a Marantz slimline receiver since physical space is at a premium. The NR 1508 from Accessories for Less could fit his budget, but he's also thinking he could upgrade his speakers with 3 NHT Super Zeros across the front being something he could afford. So how much of an upgrade would the Marantz be over his Denon if nothing else changes? How much of the upgrade will the NHT Super Zeros be over his Mica front speakers if the receiver stays the same? Yeah, so he's got 350 to spend, right? 350 to spend,
right around there. Yeah, a little bit of wiggle room, but right about that.
Yeah, so 350. I don't know these speakers; they sound cheap.
Yeah, I haven't heard the Mica speakers.
Yeah, well, I'm going to click on them real quick so I can take a look at them.
They have very positive reviews in that, but they also go for what is it, $80 a pair, and they're sometimes available for $60 a pair. So they're very inexpensive, which is one of the reasons people like them.
Right, sure.
They have a perfectly reasonable looking design. There's nothing about their design that makes me go, oh, there's no way that could be good. It could be fine. I mean, these could be similar to the mono price speakers, which are dirt cheap, but they're fine. They're pretty decent little speakers. The mono prices in these Micas look like
that's all what these are. Little black boxes.
They could be similar to that. Now, the Super Zeros we're big fans of. We know those are very good speakers.
So, okay, let's just talk through this. So if you were to get new speakers, what are you looking for? You're looking for extension on the top end and ability to blend into a subwoofer on the bottom end. Sure. That's what you're looking for.
Yep.
Will you notice that in your room? Maybe.
I'd say more likely than noticing changing your receiver.
Well, to change the receiver, what are you looking for there? You're looking for, in his case, room correction.
Sure.
That's the one thing that he's going to be looking at as being a noticeable upgrade, because the DACs and all of this stuff, that's all that's
amplifiers are a wash in this case.
In this case, you're sitting close enough to everything.
But that Marantz Slimline, it does have Odyssey, but it's Odyssey Mult EQ, right? It's the basic version of Odyssey. It does EQ the subwoofer, but with fewer filter channels.
It's an XT. It's not XT.
It's not XT on the Slimlines. It's regular Mult EQ. Now, it's better than 2 EQ for sure, but it's not super tremendous.
So what are the other options for things that he could do in this room? So let's just, because he's mentioned these two things as being things.
Speakers or a receiver.
Well, I mean, there's also the second subwoofer, right?
Second sub. Yep.
Second sub. I mean, most likely, he's got two things going on here. One, he's only listening in one spot, and that's the lying down.
It is a bedroom setup. So.
Yeah. So I don't know if that means that he's in bed or if it's in a bedroom.
Right.
Because there's a big difference.
Either way, it's probably not an audience of many people.
Right. So maybe. So if it's a bedroom and it's got a chair or a small couch in there, maybe he's really only worried about one place and he has lots of placement options. Or maybe it's an actual room that he sleeps in which case he's got no placement options. So therefore,
that too. Yes.
Therefore, maybe the subwoofer doesn't make that much difference. He's not obviously talking about a screen or a new display of any kind.
No,
so
he's only on the audio side here.
So the other thing we'd be looking at is room treatments. So is room treatment something that might benefit him? Well, we don't know. We don't know where his head is.
I guess that's always possible.
Yeah. We don't know where his head is in relation to things. We don't know if he's lying down, if he's sitting up, or any of these things.
Yeah.
So
if he's in bed, maybe he has the headboard or not,
right behind him. Right. So there's lots of things that could make a difference here. But what are you going to notice the most?
Speakers. A change in speakers makes the biggest difference, other than outright changing the room.
Yeah, I wish I knew more about these speakers. I have to be honest with you. I wish I
I wish we'd heard them. Yeah,
I wish I'd heard them. I wish I had a little bit more information about them. I almost want to suggest. I mean, come on now. I like the NHT Super Zeros. I talk about them all the time, and I know you probably like them because they're small.
Yes.
But maybe not get those. Maybe get something like the ones I've got on my ceiling. Whether those the birds or the little birds.
Birds.
Yeah, the Focal
You've got birds. You could get little birds. Three little birds would easily fit your price point.
Yeah.
And those are small. I mean, if you got the birds, you'd be like, well, it is a lot bigger than I thought.
They are going to be a lot bigger than you think. That is true.
But that could be doable. I mean, another one where I'm like, here is a speaker upgrade where even without having heard the Micas, I'm going to guarantee is a difference in sound and an upgrade in sound quality would be Ascend Acoustics HTM 200 SEs.
Okay.
Those to me are a cut above at their price point, but you wouldn't be able to get 3 of them for $350. It's about $450 for 3 of those.
Okay.
Now, I mean, if you were going to do a receiver upgrade, I'd want you to get a greater difference. So if you were going to do it, I'd point you to the Denon X2400H. Now, that doesn't give you the nice slim profile, doesn't give you the short height or anything, but it gets you multi-Q XT.
Right.
And from Accessories for Less, this is within the price range that you're talking about, would be a Denon X2400H. So if you were going to get an AV receiver, that's the one I would point you to, just so you get the higher level of Odyssey.
I guess, okay, so the reason why I was leaning more towards the Focal Birds than the NHT Super Zeros is simply because of size. And knowing that you can get a little bit more bass out of the Focal Birds than you can out of the NHT Super Zeros,
but not out of the little birds. The little birds would not.
Little birds would not. The little birds would be about the same, and I would be. And my idea here is that I want you to notice the difference more than anything as it crosses over into your subwoofer, where you may have picked up on either consciously or unconsciously a bit of a dip there. They may just sound a little bit fuller overall if you get a slightly larger speaker. That being said, if you said, I think changing speakers probably makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I'm less convinced that you're going to, even going with Odyssey Multi-Q XT, I don't necessarily think that that's going to be the panacea that a lot of people seem to think it is.
No, it's not a panacea. It's just it's something that you might legitimately notice.
And you might.
That's the way I was coming at it.
Yeah, you might. But I have a feeling that the speaker limitations are going to be more important than the room correction. So let's fix the speakers first.
Agreed. Now, on the other hand, if you're upgrading to a 4K TV, you're going to want to upgrade the receiver. So that could have a hand in things, but it doesn't sound like that's the case. Yeah. All right, so we're leaning towards speakers. I'm leaning towards Ascend Acoustics, but you'd have to spend more if you want to get 3. You could certainly get a pair and get the third one later when you've saved up an extra $100. You're leaning towards Focal Birds.
Or the NHTs. I'm okay with the NHTs.
Or the NHT. We're both very okay with the NHTs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're leaning towards speakers. There.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. Rob wants to upgrade from a Yamaha sound projector to a full-on immersive audio setup. Sounds like Jonathan. Jonathan did that. He's not planning to rearrange his furniture, so his couch is up against his back wall, and it is also up against his left wall. There's no right wall. It's open to the kitchen, and the room overall is a bit of an L shape. So his theater area only has a partial front wall on the left. To the right of his TV, the room extends into the dining area. So if you're looking at this, okay, draw a backwards L, but the bottom part of the L that kind of like shoots off, the little horizontal line, it's very short. Okay.
Right.
And that's that little short line. The top of that little short line is where his TV is, and the bottom his couch is. And the couch is bigger than or wider than the TV. And then to the right is everything else, is like dining room and all that stuff. And then behind where his TV is as well. So Oreo has an SVS SB16 Ultra subwoofer, and he's very happy with it. So he's thinking he'll just get SVS speakers all around, although that isn't set in stone if we insist there's something better for a similar price. He's pretty much set on having Ultra bookshelf speakers and an Ultra center up front. So his questions are mostly about surrounds and overheads. Okay, so do we have a problem with him having Ultra speakers up front? No.
None whatsoever. I have no problem with them
because the way this thing looks, it looks like these speakers will be sitting practically on top of each other. But I'm going to go with you've measured it, and yes, there's space to the left of this TV to put a speaker.
Right. As long as they physically fit, we're very, very okay with that speaker choice.
So he'd really like to do Oro 3D, and I'd like to read that again for those of you that think I misspoke. He would really like to do Oro 3D.
Maybe he's in Europe.
Both of those movies.
It's a much bigger deal in Europe.
Yeah, maybe that would be fine. So that means he would need his setup to include front heights, rear heights, plus the voice of God position to make his configuration compatible with all 3 immersive audio formats. So a 5.1.5 setup at the minimum. So should he even consider 7.1.5 or maybe having front wides? Dude, where on God's green earth are you going to put front wides?
And where are you going to put surround backs?
Surround backs, they're going to be headphones. They're going to be right there. No, you can't have 7-point. You can't have you can't have wides. You can't have either of those things.
No. The 5.1.5, that's the setup to go for here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So for those who don't remember, the way that Aura 3D works, basically, 5-point or 7-point setup where you have 3 speakers up front, 2 speakers for your surrounds, excuse me, to your sides, just the way that you normally would. Is a normal configuration, or 7 speakers in a normal configuration with 2 speakers behind you as well. That's the base level for Oro 3D.
Right.
And then basically above both those, all 5 of those or 7 of those speakers, above those speakers, like what, 3 to 5 feet or something like that.
Oh yeah, so what do we have? 30-degree elevation angle, ideally in Oro land.
Right. Above those, each one of those speakers is supposed to be a height speaker. So there's none of this, keep them in line with whatever. And, they're supposed to be on the ceiling. There's none of that. It's only supposed to be, 30 degrees above each one of those speakers based on where you are. That's their height speakers. And there's one speaker on your ceiling, and that's the voice of God speaker. And it sits right over the top of your head. That's a traditional Oro 3D setup.
Right.
And, yeah.
But to be compatible with Atmos and DTS-X, the only ones of those height channels that all 3 formats can use are the front heights, which are directly above your front left and right speakers,
right,
and rear heights, which are, I guess you could say they're directly above your surround back speakers, but they're however far apart your front heights are, same thing, but at the back of the room. Those are rear heights. And you can use those.
Yeah, those would be what? Yeah, I guess rear heights, huh? Those would be your Aura 3D 7.
That's the only thing you can use, because you can't use surround heights in anything other than Oro 3D.
Right.
So that doesn't work. You can't use top middles as your voice of God, which you should be able to, but you can't. So it's front heights, rear heights. Those are 4 overhead positions that all 3 immersive audio formats can share. And then you can also have the one voice of God speaker directly above you that only Oro 3D will use, but that's okay.
So he's thinking of prime elevation speakers as front heights and rear heights, and also a prime elevation speaker mounted to the ceiling as a voice of God. Anything we would change about that? The prime elevation speaker as voice of God? That's about the only thing I would change, because it's angled. How is angled. Yeah. How are you going to make that work?
You put it a little bit in front or a little bit behind you so that the angle is aimed at you.
I would not. I would get a speaker that is pointed straight down.
A prime satellite?
Satellite speaker this prime satellite would be perfect.
The only difference is that the prime satellite, while definitely mountable because it's a satellite speaker, it doesn't have like the integrated ceiling mount that the prime elevation does. So maybe that's the reason he's thinking of it. I don't have a huge problem if you just want that mount, but I would probably lean towards prime satellite as well, and then just get a nice little flush mount.
Or an in-ceiling speaker, but apparently doesn't seem to be on the table.
Doesn't seem to be in the cards, yeah.
But that would be.
I would look at a prime satellite though.
So what would we suggest for a surround speaker? So he was thinking he might use prime elevation speakers for surrounds too. What?
Read what he's proposing, because it kind of makes sense.
He could mount them on his back wall and use their angle design to have them aiming somewhat towards his main listening position. So what do we think would work best? Having prime elevations mounted on the back wall in a horizontal layout so they are angled in towards the seats. Mount them vertically on the back wall so they're angled down towards the seats, even though the rear heights will be angled down just from a higher position. Or maybe something unexpected, angle them facing out or up, or just spread out the sound. No. I don't like this. I don't like any of this. No. Okay. So your floor level speakers should use, so you got your front ultras or whatever you're gonna have up there. Use prime satellites for all the floor level stuff. Use elevations for all the height level stuff, and then use a prime satellite for the voice of God. That makes
I'm
sense.
pretty much in agreement with that.
All these angles.
Yeah,
they're not supposed to.
It's a fixed angle on that prime elevation, whereas with a prime satellite, you can put it on whatever kind of mount you want, and if you want to get a pivot mount, get a pivot mount. If you just want to have it flush on the wall, have it flush on the wall.
Right. So I like the idea of having them, directly behind. If you don't have them on the back wall, that's fine, but not to either side of the couch and kind of angled in, or angled towards each other if you can, depending on how you have them set up, and then the prime elevation speakers above them. I think that makes the most sense.
I agree with that.
I wish you could move your couch in a little bit.
I'm sure you can move it like half a foot.
Just a little bit, because you're going to be right on those.
Nobody's going to notice half a foot.
Yeah. So should he consider the bipole-dipole ultra surround speakers instead?
No.
Which AV receiver or processor and amp should he get to run this setup? Well, I feel like if he's in England, I mean, if he's across a pond to another country, that dictates a little bit of this. But most like all the Denons and stuff like that, they can all do Aura 3D. Not all of them out of the box. You sometimes have to pay extra for that.
Right. Any of the current ones from the ones that end in a 400 or the brand new ones that end in a 500, those have it out of the box.
Right. But sometimes you have to, like, Voice of God has to have an amp no matter what, though, right? Because it comes off a subwoofer input or output.
So if you would like to be able to run your entire, so we're for sure saying 5 floor level speakers, 4 height speakers, 1 Voice of God. So 10 speakers total. That's what we're talking about. We're for sure saying that because you're not going to have surround backs, not going to have front wides, not in this setup.
Right.
If you would like to be able to run all of that just off an AV receiver, you can do that if you got the X6400.
Seems overkill for this setup.
Well, not really, because I mean, so it has 11 amplifiers built into it. The step down has 9 amplifiers built in, so you'd for sure need to power something externally with the 4400. The 6400, though, has the ability to assign the surround back left binding post as the Voice of God. And since you aren't going to be using surround back speakers anyway, that's available to be assigned as the Voice of God. Any of the lower model numbers don't let you reassign it like that. You on any of the lower ones, if you have a Voice of God, it must be powered by an external amp that is connected to the subwoofer 2 pre-out. It's the only way to do it. So an X6400, in a sense, could... So it's more convenient in that it's just one thing doing all of this. And it might actually save you a bit of money in that you don't need any external amps. It can power everything itself. You don't have to use a pre-out for any of the channels. So
and none of these speakers that you're buying, I mean, you're not, first of all, you're not sitting that far away from anything. So none of these speakers that you're buying really,
I mean, these are easy to drive speakers in a listening distance that isn't gigantic. The room is fairly large, but the listening distance isn't huge. You've got an SB16 Ultra handling the bass. So we're not worried about that as far as output goes. Yeah.
So he's thinking he'll install some acoustic panels, but he doesn't want to anything too crazy. He was considering considering 4 2x4 foot panels with they're 2 inches thick on the wall behind his main couch, and then a couple of panels on the front wall behind the TV and front speakers. What do we think of that plan? I think you need one on that left wall, like for show. But other than that, wherever that first reflection point is on that,
it's a bit tough because he does have windows on the left wall. But
I mean, based on what I'm seeing here, he doesn't have any space for a speaker anyway. So I mean, we don't know. We don't know that it might be right on that wall. In which case, you just screw that in 2 inches and you slide the panel right next to it. You hit the first reflection point because that's right.
It would be nice to have a panel on that left wall. Agreed. I like the panels. Definitely, I like the panels behind your seat. That's like a must.
Yeah, but again, he's got windows behind his seat, so I mean,
I don't know.
From what I'm seeing here,
the panels behind your seat is a must. It would be very nice to have panels on that left wall. The front wall let's just say if you super necessary, really.
Yeah, behind your seat is not behind the couch. Behind your seat is behind your head. Right. So if those windows are behind your head, you're like, I'll take these panels, and I'll put them behind my couch. They are not doing anything. I mean, they're doing something. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be behind your head to catch the sound as it's bouncing off that back wall. This will all be a little easier when you move your couch into the room a little bit. But behind your front speakers, okay, I can get behind that. Behind your TV, I don't really know why the TV. I mean, unless it's just
for the center speaker, I guess. But
I guess most center speakers, like, based on what I'm seeing here, it looks to me like that center channel is probably inside of that component, stand that the TV is on.
Stand,
in which case, anything that's coming out the back of that thing's hitting the back of the probably hitting the back of the cabin, coming back out again. So I don't know that there's much you can do there. But if you're doing it behind the center channel, fine. But I don't think that there's a reason to have a
like if money is tight, you can only afford so many panels. We would prefer the panels that you were going to put on the front wall go on the left wall. If that's an option, we would do that way. If you can get them all, then so much the better. Because we're certainly not opposed to on the front wall, but we're more worried about the left wall than the front wall, and we're definitely worried about the wall behind your head. And just to note, if you are able to buy from Accessories for Less, if you are in the United States, the X6400H is $1,300. So it's not that crazy. You'd have to add an external amp to the 4400 anyway. So you're in the ballpark. Get an X6400.
All right. Josh. First up, Josh says, thanks for answering a subwoofer question last week.
His multiple subwoofer questions.
I don't
Remember, he was the one who wanted to learn everything about subwoofers.
Oh, that guy. All right, you're welcome. In the moment, his basement his basement is wide open, but he's trying to plan his construction for finishing it. He's going to have wall-to-wall subwoofers. Apparently, he'd like a perfectly enclosed rectangle, but that idea has been shot down. It's going to be an L-shaped space where the theater sub goes, roughly 20 feet long by 15 feet wide for the theater area. Then another 10 feet by 14 feet section, making the L shape to the right. He'll have an office, a bathroom, a utility room, but those have doors. The stairway will have a door at the top. All right. So yes, the theater area is on the left, and then there's kind of like where the couch ends is where the L goes off to the side from the front of the room.
Yeah.
To the right. So it'll go off to the right. Then there's some stairs over there that in that area, plus the bathroom and the utility room and the office or whatever that stuff is.
Now, before we go any further, I just wanted to say, so right now he's like, his basement's completely wide open, which means air is flowing freely. And I imagine he's got some heat registers in this basement. But what is the air return situation? Because any air in that basement that is coming through your heat registers or air conditioning registers has to have an air return back to the furnace, which is why most utility rooms in basements have a louvered door,
right?
So that the air in the basement can get back to the furnace. There must be an air return back to the furnace. Now, it's possible to do that with a sealed door on your utility room, but it's a lot more work, and you got to think about it. You can't just be like, I'm going to put this utility room, put a solid door. And not only that, his plans include having the only access to the utility room being through the office.
Right,
and the office has doors. So if you were thinking this is going to be a simple close it in job, no, you got to think about the air circulation, because either both the office and the utility room have to be louvered doors, in which case acoustically they aren't doors anymore. They're open doorways.
Right.
Because the air can flow through them, or you seriously have to consider how the conditioned air from the basement is going to have an air return back to that utility room, which can be done, but it's more cost and expense and complexity.
The upside is it makes it a rectangle again. Basically, if all those doors are louvered, you might as well louver the bathroom too.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
it's now a rectangle again. In which case, your subwoofers will go in the front right corner of your office and the back left corner of your theater area.
Of the utility room? I see. Oh, front right corner of the office and back left corner of the... Yeah.
That'd be the right wall.
There you go.
All the way through the office.
Yeah.
And in the front right corner, and then the back left, and then boom.
Yuppers.
Now, I will tell you, no one will want to be in that office when you're watching movies.
Yeah.
You better have the bathroom door open at the same time, because they're going to come screaming out of there wanting to puke, because that subwoofer is going to hit, and it's going to be crazy. Okay, so
that's it. Just take care of that. We'll go on from there. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know where I stopped here. So the L-shaped section plus the stairway should be right around 4,000 cubic feet. He's planning on about 11-foot seating distance with a bar top and stools behind the couch, so he would like to get a projector, but he has a budget to consider. Yeah, he's going to have to spend a lot of doors, apparently. If he sticks with the current pair of SVS PB12 NSD subs, he thinks he'll be able to afford a 4K projector, but he's more worried about bass than pretty much anything else, so he'd upgrade his subs and sacrifice on the projector side if need be. It seems from what we said that the PB12 NSDs are right on the borderline. So what do we say? Upgrade the subs and sacrifice 4K on the projector, or stick with the dual PB12 NSDs and be able to afford 4K? So I have my initial reaction here is because I understand how this man thinks. I say go with the 4K, because you're going to end up buying the subs
one day anyway.
Yeah, you'll get those subs. But if you
go, person we're dealing with.
Yeah, if you go with the subs, then you may never upgrade that projector. At least not anytime soon. That being said, I that's my temptation, but I think I still feel like, as far as projectors are concerned, that we're going to see a lot of differences coming out in the next 2 years. As far as 4K,
there's some really nice 4K projectors.
I know there are, Rob. I know there are. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that we're still seeing pretty big leaps in technology and performance of projectors and prices of projectors.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you want
now.
genuine 4K and not wobble K, that's definitely true. Because I don't think he's looking to spend $8,000 on his projector.
No,
it doesn't sound like that's the case.
Yeah. In which case, I kind of feel like holding off on the projector is the right thing to do. That being said, I mean, if you're actually able to seal off all these doors, and do everything the way that you say that you're going to be able to do it, the you've already got the subs.
Well, also PB12 NSDs in 4,000 cubic feet is fine. That's like, it's perfect. I mean, we just had that fellow last week who added a PC 2000 to his PB12 NSD, and he was in 4,300 cubic feet, and he's like, Odyssey still only had me turn the volume dials up to like 3/8, not even halfway. He's like, I wanted to turn them up higher than that, but I didn't need to. So you're already fine output-wise.
And I feel like he's more worried about missing some bass that he...
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, last week he was worried about missing stuff below 17 hertz. And it's like, no, there's nothing to miss.
I think that these, first of all, we got to figure out whether or not the rest of this volume of air in this place is going to be applicable. If
it's going to really be what it is, yeah.
In which case, maybe it's not. Maybe I think
maybe all the money he thought he had goes to installing an air return he wasn't planning on.
Right. Yeah. So there's that to consider. That was the whole question.
That was it.
Okay, yeah. So I would live with these, even if it ended up that you had to have louver doors on everything. I would still stick with the PB12 NST to begin with.
Yeah.
And if you're like, I have them turned up as loud as they will go, and Odyssey is telling me, or the room setup is telling me,
still trying to boost the gain to +10.
Yeah, then
which isn't going to happen.
Which isn't going to happen. Then But I don't think that. I mean, I think you want to buy new subs. In which case, if you go with God, dude, do what you got to do. But that has. We don't think you need.
Most people would look at a pair of PB12 NSDs and go, "Holy crap,
that's a big sub."
Those are some big subs.
Why is it in your office?
Only people like us who are like, "Well, there's much bigger than that."
That's a perfectly reasonable size sub.
That's right.
Hey, if that guy that needs the coffee table projector uses a PB12 NST as a coffee table, he would have plenty of room to move that thing back.
There's going to be some shaking images going on with that. You need lots of mouse pads.
Right. All the mouse pads. Sound stabilization pads. $200 a pop. I got a box of them over here. Carl just wants to hear our reaction to the announcement of the first ever THX certified live performance venue. The Park Theater at the Park MGM Resort in Las Vegas. How do I know it's going to happen in Las Vegas? Is going to host Aerosmith for 18 performances between April and July 2019. Dude, there's no way they're getting through 18 performances. Someone's getting sick or dead. I can't. Well, I mean, April and July that's still 18 performances. That's like, they can't be doing multiple performances in a day. Well, I don't know. These guys are professional musicians at this point. They've got to have this thing down. But still, wow, that sounds exhausting.
No, it's like a couple a week. It's not that much.
The theater is being outfitted with L Acoustics line array speakers and will be THX certified. Furthermore, Cinemark theaters have had 200 of their XD auditoriums THX certified recently. So it's a reaction to this return of THX certified theaters. Hey, man, whatever it takes to get good sound back in these places, I don't care who they had to pay off to get the certification, as long as somebody checked it over. I mean, I just don't want I don't want any more blown woofers.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I don't want any more, screeching sounds that shouldn't be, that some speaker is clipping the crap out of itself because it's one amplifier is turned up too high and the other ones aren't. I know you want me to say that THX is BS or whatever. It's not.
No. I was always in favor of it when they were certifying theaters.
Oh, I mean, they're just going in there. I don't even care it's THX. If Dolby wants to go in there and certify a theater, or DTS wants to do it, heck, Oro 3D wants to do it, IMAX can do it. Knock yourselves out. Whatever it takes to have a second set of eyes and ears in these places to say this meets a standard by which I am measuring it.
And holding the theater owners up to that and saying, well, if you don't keep this up, then we're going to revoke your certification. So at least I'm
all for
incentive.
It. 100%. No. 100%. I pay extra to go to such theaters. I do.
A live performance venue, why not? It's still an auditorium. That totally they can be like, here is the volume level you need to be able to hit without clipping. Here is the balance you need to be able to have in the bass. Yeah,
the line arrays make perfect sense in those sorts of situations.
Concert venue, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I'm good with that. I also think, Razer purchased THX, and I think they want to get some money back on that investment. So makes sense that they're going back out there and doing what THX did when they started, which is certifying theaters.
Razer. I just see THX certified Razer scooters.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't.
I don't think that's a different Razer company.
It probably is, but still could happen in my world. Fred bought an NVIDIA Shield a while ago, and he uses it for Plex, both as a server and as a player, and Netflix. He got a 128 gigabyte Lexar USB drive to expand the Shield's storage. He's almost certain the USB drive that he bought used to be on NVIDIA's recommended USB flash drives list. Used to be. It worked fine at first, but then it started getting errors. And then when he went to unplug the Lexar drive, he found that it was extremely hot.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to reformat the USB drive using his computer, but it seemed to be non-functional. He reset his Shield without the expanded memory, and it's working fine. NVIDIA's list of recommended USB devices only has SanDisk models on it now. So what do we think? Did Rob add a USB drive? If so, which one? Do we think it'll be safe to add one of the more expensive SanDisk drives that's on NVIDIA's current recommended list? Or could one of those melt too? You have a NAS server that you grab everything from for the NVIDIA Shield.
But I also did expand the NVIDIA Shield's internal memory because it stores all of the movie poster art and stuff. Metadata gets stored on the internal storage, so you can stick a USB thumb drive into the NVIDIA Shield and tell it to format it as internal storage.
Okay.
So
does it get super hot?
It sure does.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went with a SanDisk, one of their ultra USB thumb drives that has an all metal body, because I was aware of some of these heat concerns. People have talked about that the USB thumb drives get very hot and that they need to have really good heat sinking if you're going to do it. So I got one of the SanDisk Ultras with the entirely metal body, not one of the ones with the plastic body, which is what the Lexar USB jump drives have. And it definitely does get quite warm to the touch. It's been working absolutely fine so far. Being the all metal body, I think is a darn good idea, because
seems like you should be able to put some sort of heat sink near it, though. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
Even if it's just like one of those gel packs that you would normally freeze in the freezer. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily that, but something
you got to
like
be able to get that heat to wick away, though. For whatever reason, the USB drives do get hot when connected to an NVIDIA Shield. That is no lie. I don't know. It's entirely possible my USB drive will stop working at some point, but it is on the recommended list. It has the all-metal body. That does seem to be helping. So I don't know. I guess I'll get back to in a year or two if it melts on me, but so far it seems to be okay. I know. It's not a glowing recommendation, is it?
Every single time we talk about these things, I'm like, and this is why I don't have a home theater PC. This is why.
But this isn't a home theater PC. It's an NVIDIA Shield.
It's exactly what it is. I have recommended to people who want one.
Yes.
That's not the same thing. I can recommend you the best Ferrari to buy, too. It doesn't mean I'm going to say that everybody should buy a Ferrari. All right. Fred and his wife enjoyed watching a couple of shows we mentioned, including Person of Interest and Dexter. So aside from all the Marvel series, are there any other shows on Netflix we highly recommend on Netflix? Has to be on Netflix.
See, I have Canadian Netflix. I don't know if all of the shows I really like on Canadian Netflix are available.
Some of these are not on.
Some of them are not. Yeah, I'm sure they're on Amazon or somewhere else in the States.
They are. Like Hannibal is on your list. And
yes.
Hannibal is on Amazon Prime.
Oh, see, that would have been an absolute top pick of mine. Bates Motel?
Me too. Bates Motel is on there. Or it was. I don't know if
it was.
It is.
Fantastic show. Nikita. Older show. I don't know if it's on there.
I can't. No. Okay, we're going to do Rob's list first, because Rob's list and my list crosses over quite a bit.
Okay. I already listed 3, but some of them aren't on Netflix in the States.
Yeah, I'll let you know. It's you'll have to look to check, because things go on and off Netflix all the time.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Go on.
Okay.
Rob.
Well, for sure, Lost in Space is on there because that was made by Netflix.
Yes.
It's a great show. Check out Lost in Space. Only one season. Great. Halt and Catch Fire. That's an AMC show.
I don't think that's on there. Might be.
Well, most of the AMC shows are on there.
And that's the show about the computer guys, right?
It's a fictitious version of like creating the first laptop and like the first people on the internet. It's a fictitious version, but it's good. Well, the first season is excellent. Okay. The rest kind of go downhill.
So as Rob does his picks, I'm going to tell you what I think of them. Lost in Space, have not seen. Halt and Catch Fire, I've watched a couple episodes or pieces of episodes, and I thought it was dumb. But I only saw pieces of it, so I am not. And I like the guy because he used to be the baker from
He was the pie maker.
the Pie Maker. He was also the bad guy. He was also Ronan the Accuser.
Yes, in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy, which is awesome. And he's going to be back in
Captain Marvel.
Marvel. Very excited.
That's right.
I love him, but I kind of hated that show. Anyways, go ahead.
Mad Men, Breaking Bad, and Better Call Saul. Those are all AMC shows.
Mad Men, I've seen a couple, like an episode or two. I don't know. Breaking Bad, I forced myself to watch 3 episodes before I gave up on that crap. And Better Call Saul.
I don't know how you could not like Breaking Bad. That's like
I didn't like it. It's okay.
That's all right. That's okay. Better Call Saul, of course, it's a prequel to Breaking Bad, but you can watch it without having watched Breaking Bad. And quite a few people like it better than Breaking Bad if they weren't Breaking Bad type people. So that could be there. One Punch Man, totally different take, but I love One Punch Man.
It is a anime.
It is anime.
I mean, it is. It's almost like a spoof of anime.
A bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Good Place,
but it might not
NBC,
be good. Yeah, the Good
NBC
Place is
comedy.
Yes,
I don't know if that's on Netflix.
It is. Okay. It is on Netflix, and it's fantastic. Season 2 just hit Netflix. It's been out on Hulu for quite some time, but the season 2 just hit, and I'm sorry. Yes, season 2 just hit. And
season 3 just started on
that's
actual
right.
NBC.
And it is a fantastic show. I have only watched the first season, I think.
Okay.
My wife is, for whatever reason, my son watched the first season. Now she's like, we can't watch it without him. I'm like, yes, I can.
Oh.
Watch me. But go on.
It's there. American Vandal, that's definitely there because that was made by Netflix.
I haven't seen it. Go on.
It's it takes the lewd drawings very, very seriously at a high school. It's quite amusing. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it's a Fox comedy, although it's
on. I don't think that's on there, but that is a fantastic show.
It's now an NBC show because Fox canceled it and NBC picked it up. Stranger Things, of course. The 100.
Hated it.
Hated the CW. Yeah, well, the first 6 episodes are not great, and then it gets amazingly good. So you kind of got to grin and bear it for a little while.
I think I got through 6 episodes before I hated it. I also hated Once Upon a Time, whatever it was.
Oh, Once Upon a Time. Not good.
I think
The Crown, that's also a Netflix show. Excellent.
I don't know about
British. It's all about Queen Elizabeth II.
No,
Glow, that's also a Netflix show.
I saw a little bit of that. Seems nice.
Last Man on Earth, that's another Fox comedy, which was, they canceled it. Can't stand that they canceled it, but Last Man on Earth is fantastic. Love it. Fargo, the actual series Fargo, that's the Showtime show. I don't know if it's on American Netflix or not.
It's not. I don't think so. I think all the Showtime stuff is on Hulu. But I might be wrong.
Very likely. But anyway, those were mine. I already mentioned Hannibal, Bates Motel, and Nikita.
Yeah, if you could, Hannibal, the first 2 seasons, I guess, were fantastic. The 3rd season kind of went off the rails for me, but the first 2 seasons I thought were fantastic. Okay, so I went through most of what he did. If you liked, what is the one that you liked? Person of Interest. You might like some of the series by God, his name just fell out of my head. But he did I think The Librarians is his.
Okay.
Which I don't
could be
love, but it's okay.
I always get the Librarians and the Magicians mixed up. But...
Well, the Magicians is like Harry Potter and college with drugs and sex. So that is on Netflix. If that sounds like something that you could be down with, then I've watched the first season, I think, of that. But the one I'm thinking of is Leverage. I think you might like Leverage. Leverage is it's not as good as Hustle, which was the British version that came first. That one was much better, I thought. But Leverage is, they started off kind of grounded in reality, and by the end, everybody basically had superpowers. So if you like cartoons that are exploring puberty. Big Mouth is fantastic.
That's I want to watch that. I just haven't gotten to it yet, but I definitely want to watch that.
It is like you're like, oh my god, this is both so true and so awful at the same time. So that's really good. If you like lewd cartoon comedy, there's quite a few of those on there now that are Brickleberry, and the other one is Paradise PD, which is just awful. It is. I've watched.
Sounds like a glowing recommendation.
I just watched an episode with a friend of mine, and as I'm going, "Oh my god, that's terrible!" they said something even worse. I was like, "Oh, I can't stop watching this terrible show." It's so awesome. Penny Dreadful is on there, and that's
that's not on Canadian Netflix. Crazy.
It is on American Netflix, or at least it was. The first 2 seasons are fantastic. You can go ahead and skip the 3rd season because that's no good. Dark is something I haven't seen, but it's like it's like I don't know, it's some European
Scandinavian
country, yeah. But basically, it's been likened to
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, and I have not seen it, but I'm very much looking forward to Black Mirror too. I mean, if you haven't seen,
Black Mirror, yeah, fantastic.
That should be on there.
Skip the first episode of Black Mirror. Go right to the second and beyond.
Oh, the pig one? Yeah, the pig one's not so good.
You don't need to see the first one.
You don't need to see the first one. Mindhunter, of course, is good. Maniac, I have not seen, but it has gotten really good reviews. Sherlock is on there, the BBC version of Sherlock. You should see that. The IT,
like 5 episodes they ever made.
No, that's more than that. But they're like 2 hours.
There's like 7 seasons and 5 episodes. That's how Sherlock went.
It's worth watching though. The IT Crowd is something I watch over and over again. Just watch it. Luther, if you haven't seen Luther, I've not watched the full every episode that's on there, but it's he's a fantastic actor.
Idris Elba,
whatever his name is, and Nailed It is something that kids like. So that's the cake baking competition.
There's Archer too. Archer's on there. That's great.
Archer is on there, and if you're into cartoons, Archer is it. As far as that group of people that they did Frisky Dingo and they did C Lab 2029 or whatever it was, they did all that stuff. That Archer is by far the best thing that they have done. Bob's Burgers on there too. You should. Watch it.
And if you're tired of all the murder and lewdness, you can clean your palate with some My Little Pony. There you go.
I just want to make sure that we all are aware that recommendation in no way comes from me. I am not.
You know what? You've never watched.
You're right.
The most version. It's Friendship is Magic, and it actually don't even do the first season. Just skip straight to the second season.
You don't have to worry about that, Rob. You don't have to worry about that.
No, because you would not like the first season because the first season they made for like 5-year-olds, and then from the second season on, where they're like, nuts to that, and they just started making their own shit.
There's just so much other stuff for me to watch that I don't need to get into that. Yeah. I mean, I am perfectly
good palate cleanser every once in a while, though.
I like the Powerpuff Girls. I mean, I can watch an episode of Powerpuff Girls anytime.
Season 5 is like Powerpuff Girls. They go nuts in season 5.
Drawing a line in the sand. All right, where are we at time-wise here? Because I
got about 25 minutes left.
Not in my book. Alex bought a dead-end X3300W receiver from Accessories for Less. He plugged in the HDMI output from his Verizon Fios box into HDMI input 1, and that input quickly stopped working. So he exchanged his X3300W for another unit. Everything seemed to be fine for about 6 months, but last week, the HDMI input 1 stopped working. He tried plugging his Verizon box to a different HDMI input, and it's fine. So he's trying to figure out the culprit. Is there any chance his Verizon Fios box is to blame? He searched online and found a number of reports of HDMI inputs or entire TVs getting fried after cable TV installations. Should he disconnect his Fios box entirely until he's sure this isn't his coax cable or a Fios box to blame, or should he continue just using different HDMI inputs and just keep running through them until you're out? Maybe he just had bad luck with 2 of the refurbished units. Yeah, this does sound like that same problem, to be honest with you, to me.
So, I mean, there was an article that got quite a bit of press over on The Verge. This was several years ago, but I mean, he had the image. He actually had
was like arcing electricity out of his cable box.
This is just his coax, right? And he like touched it to a piece of metal, and that's how much current was just flowing through that coax. And he also had an image of what it did to HDMI cable connectors, and that's some frying. So it doesn't sound like yours is as bad as that.
The hurricane's here, I guess.
It definitely could be coming through this. So, I mean, of course, Fios is fiber optic cable might be right to the threshold of your house, but within your house itself, it'll still be coax cables. It's not like it's a fiber optic cable.
Sort of short going on someplace.
It does.
So,
and unfortunately, it is kind of common that in your coax cable, there's current flowing that shouldn't be. Very often, just because it was stapled too tightly, and the shield has essentially been interrupted, so there's no ground in that coax cable anymore if that shield has been cut by a staple that was hammered in too hard.
I would call the Verizon people, have them come out and test everything.
Although, who knows how much help that'll really be, but I don't know. I wouldn't go blaming the Denons right now. I wouldn't, because this is quite common that it is the coax cable.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame the Denons either. I don't know what the solution is, but
having good luck. Having it. Well, honestly, don't even like try to fix the coax. Just have a new coax run.
Yeah.
Yeah. From wherever the Fios fiber optic enters your house, have a new coax run from there to this Fios box and go with that.
That's probably way easier said than done. You know what I mean?
Very likely.
Very likely.
But
the box
on a
is
podcast,
not in the room.
It's super easy.
Super easy. Problem solved. Slow clap for us as we walk away into the sunset. That's right. We did it, Rob.
Just install an air return. Easy.
Easy. $7,000 later. Mike S. on Facebook. So what do we think about the Amazon Echo Link amp? A stereo 60 watt per channel wireless amp with a subwoofer output, pre-outs, optical, and RCA inputs for $300.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. Fine.
Yep. Everybody's making them these days.
So, because what? I think SVS just came out with one too.
SVS just came out with one, but theirs is $500, but it's 150 watts per channel, and it's DTS Play-Fi.
Right.
Although actually the SVS one has a skill to work with She Who Shall Not Be Named for Amazon as well.
Yes.
So they can do that. Of course, Sonos has their new Sonos amp. It's $600, but it's 125 watts per channel, so not quite as much as the SVS for $100 more, but twice as many watts per channel as the Amazon for twice the price. But all of them have this subwoofer output with the auto detection and a crossover engaged.
Interesting.
Yeah, almost like somebody built a chip that does that.
Somebody OEM that stuff.
But this is a nice price. It's a nice feature set. 60 watts per channel is plenty for a lot of, like, I just want to set up a pair of speakers in this room, and here's a way to do it. Clearly works with her, with Madam A over there. So,
The Scarlet A.
If you're using other Amazon stuff to send music around your house, I'm like, there you go. I'm pretty thumbs up on that.
I got no problems with it. Chris says he recently upgraded to dual SVS PC2000 subs. His receiver is a Denon X4300H. Should you use both subwoofer outputs from the X4300H and let them have individual distance and trim level settings, or should you use a Y splitter from just one of the subwoofer outputs so that both subs are getting the exact same signal? Use both, and then you tell the sub, you tell the receiver that you want to send out mono, essentially.
Does it let you do that?
Does it? X4300H? Yeah. Yeah.
It does?
Yeah. I mean, mine does. What's mine?
I'm pretty sure in my rants, if I... so I can tell it I either have one sub or two subs.
Right.
I've never actually tried telling it I have one sub and then plugging in both and seeing if a signal comes out of both outputs. I actually haven't tried that. It might. I don't know. Because if I say I have two subs, then it sets individual distance and trim for the two of them.
Yeah.
But if I say I only have one sub, which is what I've done... I never actually tried just sending it out of both. I don't know if a signal comes out of both outputs or not. It might. I don't know. Could certainly try it. Can't hurt to try.
Yeah, but I mean, even if it says different distances or whatever. I mean, the distances are going to be negligible anyways. Usually, depending on how you're in my setup, the distances are about the same anyways. So, I mean,
as they are in mine.
It's really the signal. You know what signal's getting to those subwoofers, and you don't set them stereo, you set them mono.
No, yeah, they're definitely they're never in stereo coming out of a Denon. You're never getting stereo subs where they're actually getting completely different signals. But it could give you different levels is fine. That's no problem at all. You want to do that anyway, but it's the different distances if they are significantly different, because there's no way to have it.
All right, Rob, hold on a second. Can you hear me still?
I know something is beeping.
Yes, that is. I just got a huge power thing happened in my
your APC.
It was actually the Panamax dipped down to 100 watts or whatever it is.
Volts.
100 volts instead of 120. It's back up at 119.
Right.
It dipped down to 100. So if this podcast ends, just end it. Okay.
Well, you're on a laptop. It'll switch to battery power.
That's not what I'm talking about. The router.
Oh, the router.
Everything else is not on battery backup.
Okay.
So yeah, neither is the mic that's plugged into the preamp, which is plugged into the wall, right? The lights,
all that stuff,
which are on in this room.
We need batteries for everything. But yeah, so as I was saying, the issue would be if it's at significantly different distances, then it will have done that and then run the EQ as them summed together, which means if you go back afterwards and manually change the distances to be the same, the EQ might be off now.
Yeah, but why would you do that, though? Why would you change the distances to be the same?
Well, because we aren't trying to. So the whole idea of setting two different distances in the auto setup is they're trying to time align it to the main listening position, which isn't actually something we agree with. Now we're in contradiction to what like Gene over at Audioholic says. We're in contradiction to what Odyssey says on that topic.
Right.
But we've done the measurements where we did time align stuff, and Ray Coronado did the measurements where he time aligned all 4 of his subwoofers. He's like, yeah, that doesn't work. You actually just want a single mono signal, one distance set for all 4 of them, even though they might be physically different distances, and then you EQ it, and then it is uniform.
So in most rooms, you're setting them equidistant across the room,
Yeah.
and the differences are going to be in the point something of a...
Exactly. At which point it's fine. We
It's
just leave
fine.
it there.
So if you have a huge L-shaped room or a
Yeah,
huge
yeah,
rectangular
yeah.
room and you're sitting on one side of it and the other sub's way on the other side, that's when you might run into a problem.
Yeah.
But like with me, I just plug in both my subs into both the outputs, and then it sets whatever distances and levels that it wants to set. And then, the differences are negligible anyways. Therefore,
Okay. So step number 1, try it with just setting it to 2 subs and the 2 subwoofer outputs connected to the 2 different subs. And if you get similar distances, then don't even worry about it. You're done.
I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah.
Step number 2, if you get significantly different distances, try saying that you have only one subwoofer, but still plug cables into both subwoofer outputs and into both subs and see if it works, because it might just have an internal Y splitter. I never actually tried that. Tom says it works on his. So there you go. That would be number 2. If that doesn't work, you could use a Y splitter, or the PC2000s do actually have line level outputs, so you could daisy chain them, is another way to get back to mono. There.
All right, last one before I lose power.
Really? We're only at an hour and 45. We started 10 minutes late.
Oh, that's not my fault.
Yes, it is. You were the one who wasn't here.
There's no evidence of that, Rob. There's no evidence of this, of which you speak.
There's my say-so.
Who's going to believe
Witness
you?
testimony.
You're mostly pumpkin pie right now.
That's true.
Daniel, what is the major differences between the rants? Oh, God, this question. I might as well not even be here for this. Why don't you answer this one after the power goes out? What are the major differences between the Marantz AV7705 and the Marantz AV8805 pre-pros? Aside from the 8805 being able to do front wide speakers, are there any real sound quality differences?
Yes, people worry about that.
I'm going to say, without having done any research whatsoever, because I read this question and rolled my eyes and went, Rob's got this one. And I just scrolled down. No. There's no sound quality difference.
I know. There are people who will tell you that there are. There are people who will say, oh, you can even measure a slightly better signal-to-noise ratio coming out of the AV8805's pre-outs versus the 7705s. In the real world, you're never going to hear a difference.
No.
Like, if what you're powering is a 5.1 system with these, or even all the way up to a 7.2.4.
Aren't these processors?
These are pre-pros.
So I mean... as long as
I mean,
you've got
the
amps that are the proper for the speakers that you're driving, then there's no difference. No,
I mean, the 8805 has its nice, toroidal power transformer, and the 7705 is an EI transformer. And some people are like, oh, it's a better transformer. It must sound better. Like, no, you're never going to hear it.
You're going to hear it from.
Never going to hear it. So the differences, I mean, there are significant differences. There is a legitimate reason you might get the 8805 over the 7705, and that's if you want to drive 13 speakers at the same time, as a 9.2.4 or a 7.2.6 setup. The 8805 can do that. The 7705 cannot.
That's right.
And he mentioned front wides, right? The 8805 can do front wides. The 7705 cannot.
I would venture to say that even if you had a 7.2 or 5.2.6 or whatever it is overhead crap, that you're not going to notice that much of a difference between a.
Well, you can't do 5.2.6 in the 7705. You are.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that even if you were limited to 4 up there, I don't think you're going to hear the difference between 4 and 6.
You might, maybe. That's possible. Especially if you play test tones, to make
sure. Yes, if you're playing test tones, Rob. In that
playing the Dolby test tones
the only
identify
person
the
who does that is you. Everybody else spends their life not listening to test tones.
That's where yes, that is coming discreetly out of the top middle left speaker. Yes.
I now hear a difference between these things. Ha! Suck it, Tom. I play test tones. Oh, you win. Good job.
If you're doing anything up to 7.2.4 and you're like, that's what my setup is going to be, the 7705 can do that. But if I got the 8805 and ran it as 7.2.4, would I hear an improvement? No, you won't.
Yeah. I don't think so either. Jonathan asks, what are our thoughts about hi-fi bars, a couple of which have opened in Los Angeles, which are inspired by the jazz cafes found in Japan? That's it. 2 things I had no idea existed. Ta-da! They seat about 50 people max, and they have the policy of hear more, say less. So no kids I guess.
Mm.
The owner or guest presenter will introduce an album. They'll talk about its history and influences, usually play some of those influential recordings, and everybody listens to the entire album straight through, much more like a movie or concert presentation. 2 places in Los Angeles have a vinyl-only policy. They use just a pair of high-end clip speakers with high-end amps and cables. The core is meant to be minimalist, so it isn't very visually distracting in any way. And the goal is for everyone to actively listen and really pay attention just to the music that is playing. So what do we think? I think it's a humongous waste of money, but what evs?
I think it's a shame that these people know nothing about acoustics.
I know.
That seems to be a shame.
Minimalist. Yeah, if you look at this place, it's like highly reflective, everything.
And the speakers aren't aimed towards any of the listeners, and there is no sweet spot.
I know. I like this. I like this. The speaker is in the corner, like on the other side of a wall, facing out and away from the people who are sitting on the couch.
And that dude's not paying attention. He's reading a darn book.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, this is whatever.
Whatever.
That's fine. If this is what you want to do
with your lives, $20,000. You know, it's like.
Can you imagine? I mean, honestly, I would kind of be in favor of a place that did like a concert. Like what I really like is the idea of you have experts come in and talk about the history of the music, the influence and stuff like that's cool. Like I appreciate that. So if you had that in an actual like proper auditorium concert setup where you have an audience and a stage and the speakers are on stage and it's properly set up so that people are within the sweet spot and it isn't the speaker is around a corner from you, and it actually has paid some attention to the acoustics of the space. Like if you did that and you had these presentations and it was done like this is a performance, this is what we are here to do, like that's cool. This is like, I don't know, I guess it's a way to exclude a certain type of person who is never going to be welcome here, and that's really the point.
That is 100% the point. Well, you can't afford it either. You know, that type of person can't afford it. This is meant to be an exclusionary event.
Yes.
I think that music and that sort of thing shouldn't be exclusionary, it should be inclusive. You know,
that would be nice. Although, I mean, look, if you just had if you just said, okay, this is a venue where we play entire albums all the way through and we focus on audio quality and it's just open to absolutely everybody, you could end up with the same thing you have at movie theaters, which is people on their cell phones, people talking, annoying stuff like that. So I always wish there were a movie theater that, like, in order to get in, you have to show your driver's license and there are ushers in every theater and they kick you out. And if you get kicked out, you never get let back in. I wish that existed. It does. Like, there's the Alamo Draft House down in the States that basically does that. I wish we had the equivalent in Canada, but we don't. So I'm okay on it from that point. I love the idea of presenters coming in and giving you information about the album you're going to listen to. And I think that's fantastic, but I just wish they actually did a better job on the acoustics, if that's going to be the point.
Yeah, like I said, whatever. whatever. Somebody's always going to try to monetize everything. So this will work for about 2 years.
I mean, the jazz cafes in Japan that they talk about, the point there is it's for people who have like hectic lives, and the idea is you go in and it's a quiet environment where the music is the focus, and you can it's like you're basically there to meditate. Like that's kind of the environment. And honestly, that's fine too. If that's really what they're going for in these same places in Los Angeles, like that's cool. It's just don't make all the floors and ceiling and walls hard, flat wood. That would help.
Last question. Jason on Facebook. Jason's TV is so old that he bought it at Circuit City.
I'm just kidding.
I have a pager from the good guys.
Absolutely fine.
It had it's had an entire vertical line of dead pixels for a while now. And now, sometimes when the TV is turned on, the picture is all distorted at first. The TV turns itself off and back on. That's kind of possessed, but whatever. Yep. And the image seems fine after that, but it's weird. That's weird.
No kidding. That is a highly distorted image.
His wife said maybe we should get a new TV, so Jason is all over it. If you're looking at this and you're old enough, remember those stations that you weren't supposed to be able to see without paying for them, but you still tried to watch them anyways? That's just kind of what this
The
looks
analog
like.
scrambled station.
Yeah.
The fact that it turns itself off and back on, I'm like, wow, that's kind of advanced. I
That
don't
is
know
pretty
what's
advanced.
going on
So
there.
clearly there's some sort of, tracking issue or line issue or something, as far as the scanning what it's putting up here, because it sounds like it's a CRT, right? I mean, is that what you're hearing?
I don't
That'd be
know.
a
Yeah,
CRT.
maybe. Could be. Although he said an entire line of dead pixels, so that wasn't how CRTs worked.
That's true. Oh, no.
I
Anyways,
don't know.
so
Anyway,
very
yes, I do. I agree. I think it's time for a new TV. I think you've earned it.
You've earned it. That's right. It's done its bit for King and Country. He's got a budget of around $2,000. Ideally, he'd like a 75-inch screen size, but a 65-inch would be okay. It's the only TV in the house, so they use it for everything, including video games, and the room has quite a bit of ambient light during the day, the sliding glass door and a large window. He's leaning towards an LCD rather than the OLED. He likes the look of the new Samsung Q8FN so far, but at its price bracket, he'd have to settle for a 65-inch size. What do we recommend? The M series from Vizio.
Why the M? Get the P. It's affordable.
Oh, is it? I don't know.
Yeah, the new
M
the
series is
P75 F1, $2,100 regularly, and I've seen it go on sale for $1,999. You get the 75-inch size. You said about 2,000, so even at 2,100, that's still about 2,000.
Yeah.
Full array local dimming with 100 zones in that 75-incher. Favorable reviews, really low input lag, because you said video games. The only real knock against it is that apparently if you watch, like if you're off center, it does degrade pretty rapidly in terms of contrast and color.
Sounds like it's just him and his wife.
It does. So I think you're head on. As long as you're head on, it's going to be pretty darn good. I mean, so I've lived with my Z9D for a while now, LCD, and it's like OLEDs are better. Like this is universally praised as one of the best LCDs. Still the Z90 is still praised as
the
one
one
of the
you
best.
Drove 18 hours to get.
The one, but in one direction, 18 hours and 18 hours.
36 hours. Sorry.
So yeah, OLEDs are better. However, $2,000 is your budget, so even getting a 65-incher is a bit of a stretch. It can be done now if you find one of the older ones, but you definitely aren't getting a 77-incher for $2,000.
Right.
I'm really not worried. Like all this talk about LCDs get brighter, it's better for later. It's like LCDs get so bright.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous complaint. The off-axis is much better, but
LCD has had some of the best marketing.
It really has.
I mean, LCDs they killed plasmas when plasmas were far superior.
Got everybody worried about the burn-ins again. Yeah,
I have burn-in on my phone.
But regardless, this price, you want the 75-inch of the P75 F1. It's a great TV at the price you want, at the size you want. Now, how can you really go wrong? Unless I don't know, your TV is one way and you're 90 degrees to it in your chair.
That'd be weird.
That'd be weird. But
it'd be cheaper to buy that TV and then get an angled mount.
Swivel mount. Yeah.
All right, who we got for next week, Rob?
Alrighty, so still on the list, we have Jared K with many, many pictures, so it makes this question long enough that I have to talk while I scroll through it. Did I skip somebody? No, there we go. Brandon N and Andrew T, who wrote to us on Facebook. That's for next week. And I got several questions that came in on Monday on that, so there we go.
All right. So if you want your question answered, just email us at question@avrant.com. I want to thank our listeners of the week. That's Thomas and Kenneth, who went to www.avrant.com, clicked on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, give us a PayPal donations. Thank you very much, Thomas, and thank you, Kenneth.
Yeah, Thomas and Kenneth, thank you very much for those donations. We appreciate them.
We want to thank our 72 patrons over at patreon.com.
Yeah, patreon.com/AVRant Podcast. If you would like to sign up to support us with a automatic monthly donation of a minimum of $1. So thanks very much to our 72 patrons over there.
All right. For AV Rant, I'm Tom Andry.
And I'm Rob H. Now go out and listen to something.